Let's carve some windows on the south side of the building. The south predominantly getting the solar gain. That's the surface that's typically in the northern hemisphere continuously lit by daylight or by the sun. So we'll have the most interesting, I guess, play of shadows through it if we make some windows. So I'm going to go in and grab the wall here and double click on it and go into the editing mode. And just like we did in our another in-class exercise, we're just going to cut some window openings in quickly. So I guess I'll make a series of windows here. So I'll start with one, and then I'll just copy this over. Oops. Grab the copy tool. And I'll just make a few of these 5 feet apart. And the idea here is just to create, see if these windows will create some visual interest with the, with the shadows that are created on the surface. And I'll make some horizontal slits. And you don't have to do it this way. It can be anything you actually want to construct, just as long as you cut some windows through. And I'll just copy a few of these up. And there we can start to see the windows cut through, and then the shadows or the daylight that's hitting the interior surfaces. So we don't have a roof on the building, so let's go ahead and do that right away. So I'm going to I'll go to level 1, I guess. It's going to ask us to go to level 2 when we start to make the roof. So I'm going to go to roof by footprint. It says asking for level 2, which is fine. And then let's go ahead and make sure that we have the defined slope turned off so that we don't get a pitched roof. And we're going to use the pick wall tool in order to define the edges of our roof system. Complete that, and we'll look at that in the 3D view, and you can see where our roof is sitting really kind of very low. That's because it's attached to level 1, which is at 10 feet, and our walls are at 20. So let's go ahead and alter this so maybe the roof system sits at 19 feet. Okay, so we can just kind of basically get a little peek in there at what's going on with the light, but the best thing to do is to go inside and take a view. So let's go ahead and establish a camera view. So once again, I'm going to turn the sundial off and turn it back on again, or the sun path, excuse me, off. Back on again so that it is eclipsing or larger than the building is. You can see this little Xing. This will show up if your sun path is turned on while you're taking images of your building. So just keep that in mind if you have these little lines on the floor. So let's grab the camera. I'll start way back on this side of the building, and I'll just look down so that I catch the interior wall. So there's the windows that we cut through. And let's go ahead and render that. Let's see if we can actually turn the shadows on. Now we're getting no play of light here, so we're going to have to want to troubleshoot. And I'll turn the sun path on, although it's not really important other than setting this initial setup. So let's go to our rendering settings, and I'll turn that on realistic. And we'll go to graphic display options, and let's turn our shadows on. And let's make sure we have our lighting set up, at least some amount of lighting. I'll turn our sun up a little bit. And we'll put a background on our sky, and we'll hit apply. Okay, so we seem to have the light. We can see the actual really low light in the sky back there, but we're not seeing anything on the floor. And I'll tell you, this is easily an issue because we don't actually have a floor for light to cast anything onto. So we could have two reasons going on right now where we're not seeing any shadows. One is there's no floor yet, and the other one is that we may not have a sun angle that's appropriate. So let's do the first thing. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's save this as a rendering setting. Actually, one of the first things I want to change though is the sun setting says in session still. So let's go ahead and go to see what that's set for. It's set for Boston. You could change that to Alfred, but it's leaving it in Boston is fine. Let's pick it for June because it's just more of a, and let's just pick maybe 12 p.m. and we'll apply that. And actually now our light is showing up, and we don't have a floor in, but it's already showing on the floor. So I guess it could be in this version of Revit, it doesn't require a floor in order to catch the light on the bottom. The walls are kind of dark on the interior. I'm not sure if we kick up the ambient lighting a little bit and apply that. I'm not really seeing much effect. So let's turn off the edges. What I'm trying to do is get, really the most interesting idea about what's going on with the light here. And let's see if adding a floor in is going to make any difference also. So I'm going to click OK with that. And then I'm going to go back to level 1 and I'm going to add in a floor. We're not really concerned what kind of floor it is, just that there is a floor. And we'll use the Pick Lines tool again. Go back to the 3D view. And actually, we're getting a much more stronger imprint of the daylight on that surface. So, so that was an important setting. The walls are really dark, so let's see if we can do anything about fixing that. Let's go ahead and edit their type and find out what they're made of that makes them so dark looking. So I'm going to open up and edit their structure so that I can create a surface for the walls. So I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to right click on that and rename it. Let's call it white. And I'm going to set that color so that it's pretty bright. Doesn't have to be icy white. Okay, and that's now part of the structure. So I'll click OK. That was in structure that I was just in. I'll click OK. And now my walls are that lighter surface, kind of brightens up the space a little bit. So now we're seeing the first idea, that play of light on the surfaces, and we can actually make some modifications to this setting so that we have just a different time of day. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open up this render again, or the graphic display options. And let's go ahead from inside of here, change our lighting time of day. So I'm going to click on In Session Still again. And we're at noon in June. So let's go back to maybe February. And it seems like you have to click off of this for apply to happen. And there we have a really nice dynamic play of the light on the surface of the floor. So we can make our changes there. Let's go ahead and save that template. Let's see if we can call it February. And I'll just call it 12 p.m. It wasn't exactly set like that, but it's close enough. And we'll click OK. And so now we can possibly call back that setting anytime we want with the same time of day. So that's our first idea. Now I'm seeing a little bit of an error here in the way this is rendering. This kind of bleed through of light. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. One of the things we might want to do is experiment a little bit with the way we set some of the lighting, the shadow detailing. But this is a good start. Next we'll look at kind of putting these together on a drawing sheet.